You're listening to The Imposter Roster, The Secret Lives of Capable Women. I'm your host, Christine Chivenko. You know that voice in your head, the one that whispers, "How did I get here?" Like at any moment, someone's going to tap you on the shoulder and say, "Oops, we meant someone else." That's exactly what we talk about here. Each episode, we sit down with a high achiever who's questioned whether they deserved to be there and then tell us how they rose anyway. So let's get into it. What does it take to build a movement from scratch? Not a startup, not a side hustle, a movement. Amanda Lewan is the co-founder and CEO of Bamboo, a statewide innovation network spanning 215,000 square feet across 5 Michigan locations that she built from a single co-working space in 2013. She's co-led events drawing 10,000 plus entrepreneurs, shaped accelerators, and community capital programs, earned recognition from Fortune magazine and Crain's Detroit, and somehow holds a master's in English because building empires and crafting a killer narrative aren't mutually exclusive. But today, she's here to pull back the curtain on the wins, yes, but also on those quiet moments of doubt that live behind every bold move. Because building something real means wrestling with that voice that asks you, who do you think you are? Turns out the answer is pretty impressive. Please welcome Amanda Lewan. Hi, Amanda.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
Well, I had the pleasure of seeing one of your presentations recently, which is why I felt compelled to ask you to please come on board and talk with us, because I was very impressed, as was the audience, which happened to be women business owners. And among your many accomplishments, and I have so many questions, but let me start with how? I mean, how did you say, I think I'm going to do this thing, and then bam, you're across the state of Michigan?
Yeah, I think I became an accidental entrepreneur. At the time, I was freelancing. I actually was laid off from a marketing advertising firm, and one of my friends had this idea: we need a place to go to work together. And I ended up being at that time like the community manager and one of the partners in this just collective downtown. And at some point, we needed to start growing. And I think this is what we really connected on. And I think many in the room at Bamboo at that day resonated with. We went through like a partnership change, and I really had to step up and say, okay, I'm going to be the co-founder and CEO and grow this little co-working company into something more sustainable. But at the time, that was like a really weird, I felt weird calling myself a CEO or even like a founder of a company. I felt like I was making up my job.
And that is you alluded to that in your presentation, and that is what got my attention, because I felt exactly the same thing when I started my business. I had a business called What Webs We Weave. I was a bona fide web developer, bona fide professional, but to put principal or CEO on the business card, I honestly felt like, are they going to believe me, even though I was really doing it? And I heard you say that, and I said, yes. So many people, men and women, feel exactly that. How did you get past that?
Also think part of it was CEO sounded like some big organization, and really all small businesses and big organizations start with a small team or usually humble beginnings. But it was just me and like a part-timer working for us and a partner, and I was like CEO of this little thing. That doesn't make sense. But it took me quite a while, I would say many years, to really like grow into accepting this role of CEO. Being an entrepreneur too, it really was something I had to realize I had a lot of creative strength. So studying creative writing, I didn't really take a single business course, but I would say here in the Detroit community and probably wherever you're listening, there's always resources like small business events, programs, honestly, co-working spaces like ours have events that help you like move your business forward. So I went and took advantage of different courses. I surrounded myself with other women. And then I think just over multiple years, I kind of like grew into that title. And really had to embrace that, like, I had a passion and a vision for what I wanted to build, and that uniquely came from me. I think that is also something hard. I think sometimes when you start a company or you go off on your own, you feel a lot of pressure to maybe, I don't know, like, how it's supposed to be done, but you have to find your own unique value add and your own unique brand, and that's what really brings things to life. So, for example, Bamboo is a co-working company. The story we talked about, that was 12 years ago, 13 years ago when we started. And now we have 5 locations and a lot of space. And if you walk in and you see our buildings, I'm sure it would seem impressive, but it took 12 years to get there. It took a lot of time. It took a lot of learning. So when you go on a journey, if you're thinking of being an entrepreneur, you sort of have to accept that it's a process, it's a journey. Co-working spaces too, there's so many of them now. So when we first started, we were the only ones. People didn't know what co-working was. They often thought it was like a library or a gym membership, and we had to teach people a little bit about it. But now, post pandemic, people work from home. They look for third spaces. Co-working is kind of more the norm, and there's more of them. So I really had to lean into, like, what am I passionate about and what is our purpose and how do we make something unique? And the more I kind of went on that journey, I think the more confidence I gained.
So you
But
said passion and vision, though. So when you first got this idea, what really was, what's that kernel of the passion and vision? What was that singular thing that you said, let me focus on this? What was that?
for me, it was building an inclusive community. At the time, there wasn't a place to go if you were working at a company to find other people like you and find being a diverse room, all kinds of people, women, working in real estate or tech. It can be mostly men. It's very male dominated. And I wanted to be around just all kinds of energy. I think that's where creativity and innovation happens, like being around different perspectives. So that was my driving factor then, and now we've really honed in on, like, how can we help Michigan build an innovative ecosystem and welcome all kinds of people into it. So we have tech startups here, we have venture capitalists, we have creatives, we have remote teams, and it's a very entrepreneurial energy at Bamboo. It's not like going to a Regis or, a mom and pop kind of coffee shop. It's a very different environment, and it's purposeful so that you feel supported as a business or professional.
So when the idea struck you and said, I'm going to do this, what did you start with? I mean, did you have somebody that said, I want to partner with you? Did you have space you already knew you wanted? Did you have a huge amount of cash and say, you know what? I got to spend it somewhere. I mean, ho gosh, all these things you have to think about when you're starting something the size of what you now have.
No money, no experience. I'd have to laugh, huge amount of cash. No, we were just a couple years out of college, and actually, it was one of our friends had the idea to start a co-working space and call it Bamboo, and I just happened to be one of the 4 partners, early on. I was the first community manager, and then 2 of our partners moved on to other opportunities, and that's when I, step up into that role and scaled the company from that small 2,000 square foot space to now 5 locations and, much more of, like, a sustainable entity. But I think at that point, it was really like it was this idea that we started. One of our 4 partners had a small space. We asked his dad for a $5,000 loan. We bought IKEA furniture and paint, and then we started doing community building, like hosting events, welcoming people in. And from there, that's when I discovered I had a passion for community building, and that I enjoyed this model, even though it was really small. It really wasn't, like, sustainable yet. We like to call that our MVP. So if you're listening
Yeah,
and you're in tech, or if you've ever
yeah,
done a startup, it's called minimal viable product. So we figured out
yes.
how to do an MVP of space, right? And then, we bootstrapped it. So it took a long time to get to this point. But I will say, every location we've been expanded to, we always have that gut fear that pops up, like, are you sure you want to do this? But I always have this, like, intuition, when I'm looking at that location or that city, that, like, it's time or that's the right place for us. So we started in downtown Detroit, and then I think the story of how we expanded to our second location is kind of wild. It was where we met at Bamboo Royal Oak. It was right before the pandemic. We were just a small little bootstrapped team. We took all of our savings and we put it as a down payment with an investor on our second location, right in Main Street. A dream location, really. Like the fact that we could get
It
this
is.
building once in a lifetime. And this was 6 months before the world shut down for the COVID-19 virus. And I remember we thought nothing would go wrong. We were like, wow, this is great. It's okay. We can take a little risk and empty out the savings. No,
No.
horrible. We had no idea what was coming for us. And it was really hard. We had to punt the whole project back 6 months, which when you're a really small, scrappy business or developer, you need money, you need capital to survive. So thankfully, we had a lot of partners that rode out that crisis with us, and we came out the other side. And I remember I was giving a tour to somebody, and they were like, "Are you still doing this co-working thing?" Because for years, people were really at home. Every city came back differently, but like it was definitely very slow the first couple years here in our second location
So
and
you
where
mean
I live.
like 2020, 2021,
Yes.
2022, that kind of thing?
Yeah, that whole span of time. Like we were wearing masks, people were social distancing. So I was giving a tour with somebody and he goes, you know, multiple tours, people would ask me like, "Oh, are you still gonna do this? Is this still happening?" Like, that's how much people thought, like, we would close down because of the pandemic, and so one member, though, said to me, it's gonna be strange for a while, it's gonna be weird, it's not what you planned, but in a few years, you're gonna be really glad you did this." And I thought, "Oh my gosh, he sees this vision, he gets it," but also it was really inspiring to hear that. It was like a little nugget that kept me going,
Yes.
like and now we've been open here 4 or 5 years. It's one of our busiest centers. There's like 50 to 70 people co-working at any given time. It's just very vibrant, and it really inspired our model going forward. So taking that risk, doing the second location, even in the worst time, the worst climate, we realized we wanna be in a walkable downtown area that has easy parking, that's on a main street. Like, we just learned how location is so important, and we learned so much about how to operate our space, so we use this where I live location to inspire our future and next locations, which ended up being Ann Arbor and Grand Rapids, and then we did do another one in Detroit as a partner on a project. But I share all that because you never know. It can be the worst timing, but if you hold out and you really believe the trend is gonna come in your favor, there's just a lot of, like, perseverance and a lot more time that I think goes into making a business model work.
Was that s was it part of your thought process that I might have to close this down, I mean, like, during the pandemic, was there some part of you that said, "Oh, that's not gonna happen," or was that mainly, "Oh, that's not gonna happen," or was there like, "I better be ready, I may have to close this down"? What
I mean,
because to
when you
power
we
through
had a
something like that.
mortgage we had a mortgage, we couldn't close, so we had the financial pressure to make it work. Um, Many years I second guessed this, like, "Is this gonna be the right move? Are people gonna come back?" But slowly, you could see the data trends slowly coming in our favor before it tipped over. And I have a partner who is literally the most positive person, and he would coach me through everything. "It'll come back. Cut our prices." We just had to kind of be in survival mode for a few years
Mhm.
and really hold on. And I think that is a lot of business and small business. Like there's going to be cycles, and you have to sort of ride the waves and hold on and kind of go through a down period. Sometimes too.
You know, it's true that because you had a mortgage, there's nothing else you really can do. You have to make it work or sell your house so you can pay for that more, something
Yeah.
awful like that. Yes, I
Yeah.
know. So, are there other things that you had, I wanna say, things you considered to help keep you afloat as you were trying to rack your brain for, "Okay, everything's closed down, people are wearing masks, people are afraid. People are afraid to be where other people are." W Beside your partner, do you have more than one now, or do
I
you.
have a business partner, Mike Ferlito, just one, and then my husband, Mark, is kind of really involved in a coach for me. Um, I think there's a lot of things that you can kind of hold on to while you're going for this crazy ride of an entrepreneur. For me, it's also like going back to that vision or purpose. Like if you really have an internal motivation beyond making money, I think it sounds
Yes.
maybe I don't know, very woo woo or social impact, but like if you know you're gonna make an impact and there's like a
Yeah,
bigger purpose,
yeah.
it just makes riding those ups and downs a little easier. Um, you feel more grounded, you know the impact you're making. And even when it was the hardest time in COVID and we were closed down, we were still finding ways to build community. And so it really was, there was still that deep rooted connection with our customers who we call like our community. Um, so it was finding like just different ways to stay connected and thrive.
You
I think
know,
it's really important then.
you're right about that energy underneath the passion. There is something to be said for that because that drive, that's the same drive that gets somebody to get through a degree that was so difficult to get because of all the other things that were happening in their life. That's the same kind of energy that powers people through some of the most difficult times in their lives. It's the passion because I guess some part of you must feel that why would the universe allow me to feel this strongly about something if it didn't mean something? And it
Yeah.
wouldn't mean something to only me because I am affecting other people.
Yeah. Yeah. And there was this period where we were like, are we going to have to close? And I just thought, no, this has to exist. I know it's important for other people. I see the impact our co working community makes every day. Like, people treat us like their second home. They have found co founders, first investors, business partners. We've only had one or two marriages. So I don't promote that we
What?
can help you get married, but we've had people meet lifelong partners through our community events and like our space. So it's just cool when you're a part of a community and you participate, you do get so much from it. And I think that is like so important to me. I grew up with this like small family. I always wanted more connections. I think humans need community. Like a whole other podcast episode, we could talk about how I think being a mom of two, I feel like we isolate ourselves in these like small family units and like we need other people. We need to be part of a neighborhood and a community. And that's kind of what our physical community spaces do, wherever they're at. Like we really try to participate and be a part of that local entrepreneur ecosystem, small business community. Yeah, so I don't know, but there is something that has to be driving you. I think, yeah, you can go into business and make money, but you can do anything to make money. So why choose a path that's going to be a little more hard and challenging and might require a mortgage? I think if you realize you have a purpose or a vision and you know your impact, that just helps. At least for me, it helps go through those cycles of, man, we
Yes.
didn't hit our goal this month, or, I'm feeling a little burned out. Like, yeah, it's definitely a different energy. I think women are more prone to it too. And
Yes.
I've heard some like criticisms that sometimes we're not as focused of making money, but I think you can be profitable and impactful. I think all things are true if that's the path you want to choose.
I
So
would, focused, I would say women are in fact very focused. We just focus on some different things. One of those things being, like you said, community, how something makes you feel. Because that's really where the richness is. That's where the abundance is. And it's a real thing that when you are vibrating at a frequency because you're jazzed about what you're creating, you're jazzed about what you I will not be surprised if people start naming babies after you,
no,
Amanda.
stop it.
Yeah.
That's a little too far.
Yeah, not necessarily, just remember this was said. But
That would be
it's
hilarious.
I know. Here's little Amanda. Okay, it's a boy, but still.
Oh no.
It's an Amanda.
But you're right there, and but that's also like that energy of being around people. So it's so funny, like co-working literally exists. So you can be a member here, you can just have a mailbox, or you can have your whole HQ here. Like we have teams of 30 to 40 people who work out of a bamboo center. And the interesting thing is it's like but if you're an individual, you want to get out of your house. You usually don't want to be home 100% of the time. If you are, you're going to be isolated. Who are you talking to besides your pet or your partner? Or even if you're just completely alone. Like that's not how humans were designed. And so it's so funny. I feel like we're so lonely. We go to coffee shops to sit around strangers. So just come to a co-working space where you get free coffee and the strangers are also choosing to be there to be a part of your community. We also do a lot of events to create that feeling of participation and like learning and growing together. So, but I thought that was always kind of interesting. I'm like, we have to like, we literally go to public places to just not be alone. Um, and
This is
like,
so funny.
that's not like, we need people, we need third spaces, we
What
need all kinds of that.
Yeah, so you're talking to a software developer, a pure gearhead who has basically a port in her neck. And yeah, in fact, during COVID, when people were going, "Oh my God, I don't know what I'm gonna do," I'm like, nothing changed for me. Nothing. I had been
Yeah.
doing webinars for not just webinars, but like web or video based conferencing for decades. And so nothing changed for me. I thought, "Is something happening out there? Because I don't notice a difference, but why is everybody wearing a mask?" So, like, when you say that, like, does she want me to openly weep on this show? I'm not sure.
No.
But I will say, when I was at your event, I because I knew some people there too, and I thought, you know, this is not a bad gig. This is nice because you're right. It is very conducive to you doing your thing, your job, whatever that might be. And you get to see other human beings, and you're right, there is free coffee and really
And there's
nice restrooms
energy, like
too.
you were
Yeah.
saying, like, there's that energy of being around others and being positive and supporting each other.
And it's not like a library where you can't talk. And it's not like a coffee shop where everybody's so loud you can't even do what you're supposed to do. So it's like the perfect environment. You're absolutely right about that.
That's the other
So
thing I always tell my team all the time is everybody wants the common area in the community, but they also need privacy and quiet.
yeah.
So it's kinda hard, you always have to have a balance of both in your building, and we've really
So what
learned.
do you have there? Do you have like I know you have rooms, you have meeting rooms, and I know it looks like you have some offices that they're devoted to a company. So you have the whole gamut then, right? You can rent
Yeah,
the
yeah. If
space.
you're an individual, you could just get a virtual membership, which is kind of cool, especially if you're starting a company, because you want a mail address outside of your house and you get access to our community and our events. You can start networking. And then we have co-working, which is kind of like a gym membership where you can kind of pop in, use the space whenever you need it, float around. But all of our locations also have desks and offices. And offices are sometimes individuals, but sometimes small teams or bigger teams. And they don't need a big HQ.
No.
They want something, their team's more hybrid, they're flexible, or
Yeah.
they save money by downsizing, really, is kind of what we've seen from the pandemic. Um, and then every location has kitchen spaces, conference rooms, phone booths. I'm sitting in an office right now. I should be in a phone booth, but they were booked. um, and then lots of events. So that's also what's unique about Bamboo is we're very social. So we always have a women business networking event or a wellness activation, or there's like a matcha and mindset Monday that they're doing in Royal Oak to talk about women and finance and empowerment. And
And when might that
it's
be?
fun. Like, who doesn't want to grab a matcha and hear a quick talk and then go to your desk and get some work done? And then, like, it's just a different energy, like you had been saying, like an energy that people want
It
to be around sometimes.
it's conducive. It's conducive to even no matter what it is that you do, it's conducive. It gets you all jazzed, and then, "Hey, I'm jazzed, and now I'm gonna focus on what I'm doing," because there's this other energy, they're doing the same thing, just in a different area. So I know you have children. How
You know, I have children.
how do you balance there's 5 locations. How many children do you have?
I have 2 human children, 2-year-old and
Oh,
a 4-year-old. I have 5 Bamboo locations, and I'm managing a team of 15 with some fractional team members in there. I mean, every location has an amazing community director and coordinator. They run the day to day. My role now is almost over the portfolio and like supporting everybody, and expansion when that's a fit, and sort of like those kind of areas of growth. It's really hard. I don't know. I don't really know how anybody raises humans and does anything that requires full-time work or part-time. I don't it's so much that we sign up for, but my kids love it. I mean, I was pregnant with my son when I was opening our Grand Rapids location, and it's wild. Now he's 2 years old and he can run around and like see it. Um, I think you really just have to lean into community and support and team, and it's a lot that you sign up for, but it's really fun and it's really enjoyable. And my daughter loves bamboo. She always talks about it. She always wants to go to Grand Rapids, like the one the farthest away.
Of course, because
um,
it's far
that one
away.
has a movie theater, so she hasn't been to a movie
What?
yet. Yeah. The
A
Grand
movie
Rapids
theater?
location is this art gallery space. It has a 200-person movie theater and a big patio, so that one's our biggest venue with a lot of different gathering spaces, but she was there, she came on a couple construction tours with me and saw the, like, theater being renovated, and really, I got inspired from seeing other friends like mine when they had their little ones, sometimes bringing them to the office or bringing them to events, like, you just have to be flexible with yourself, I think. I don't know. I really don't.
Well, once it's happening, once you're in the throes of it, I mean, there is no going back anyway. So it's like they say, do or die. It was just like with COVID. There's no choice. I got to keep on keeping on. And so likewise, yes, I have 2 kids. Yes, I have 5 locations. Yes, I have a husband. And yes, I'm going to make it all work. It is what
Yeah,
it
and some
is.
days it's not gonna be perfect. Other days will be feel better than others. Sick days are the hard days because someone's always gotta stay home with them, and you just tap into, like, a network of support wherever you can. I think kinda thinking back to the theme of your podcast, imposter syndrome, I think moms feel this a lot too, or anyone who has multiple roles, like, you don't feel like you can give full attention to something. Like, there are many days I had to work from home with my daughter, and I'm like, "She's watching TV." Not ideal for a 4-year-old, but I have to get on a couple calls. So I think you just have to give yourself grace and flexibility and know that there's a season for things. Yeah, I don't know. That's
You
just
know,
my
it's
mindset
funny you
right
said
now.
that because I was honestly thinking, I believe I need to interview some moms too, because I can only imagine they feel like an imposter. I remember a while ago, I don't know, could be years ago, I remember hearing a mom, and I believe she had young ones and said something to the effect that they feel like a fake or an imposter. I thought, How? They're your kids. How I they're they're there. I didn't understand. And I guess it's that part where as a mom, a long time ago, there was a commercial called Anjali for this perfume. I can, cook and I can take care of kids and I can run a business and I can da da da. And it's that whole like, but I can't do it all effectively, at least in their perception. It's not effective, but in fact it is. Your kid's still alive, your kid's still eating, and they get to sleep somewhere tonight, and you still have the company running, and you're still wearing clothing right now, so that's good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like that's where I
Well,
I would like to
sometimes you
talk.
could be my 2-year-old son. He ripped off his clothes, was in his diaper, and tried to go down a bike down the stairs, and I had to stop him the other day. I was like, "This is a new phase of energy I'm not ready for."
You know your sister didn't do that, right?
She did not do that. But no, I think it's part of it is cultural. I think we live in this hyper social media culture where, like,
Yeah.
you see videos of mom making, like, organic star-shaped things for their lunch.
Yes.
Anytime I've tried to do that, my kids just throw it on the ground. Like, I don't know, and, like, you can just always be critical and, like, try to do better, or you can just give yourself a little bit of, like, grace and just figure it out. And I sometimes I'm my husband's like, "Oh, they need to be eating better," and I'm like, "Well, they're eating better than I did when I was growing up." Like, it's all just a process, and
Yeah.
I think even motherhood is a process, and I didn't know that going into it, and so I don't know. I don't think you have perfect balance. I know someone asked that question at the event, and I sort of laughed. I'm like, nobody in the room felt like they had balance. You just
No,
have to
that's
do
true.
your best every day and not play that game of comparison where you think that being a mom looks like this, or even being an entrepreneur. There's so many different types of journeys you can go on, and you have to build your own while you're here in this short life, right?
Whatever fits you. So, what there's so many things that you've been able to accomplish. Is there a grain of advice, some little gem that you would say would be so useful to anybody who's listening to this right now? Because there are so many things you had to incorporate to get where you are right now. But what is the one piece that you say, no matter what it is you are trying to accomplish in your life, here's something that might help?
I feel like I often say this, but you just have to get started. If you wanna make a change, leadership change, like, title change, business change, you just have to do it. You just have to start. I'm somebody who learns by doing, and it can be scary, but I don't think there's a better way. I mean, even just innovating, like, even now at Bamboo, now that we have 5 locations, when we wanna roll out something new, it's like we talk about it for so long, it's like you just have to do it. You have to do experiment and learn and get feedback and grow, and, like, all of that is a part of the creation process. So I think we get stuck in our heads, and sometimes you just have to do it.
You're right, and I mean, I'm even the imposter roster, it's just like, just do it, just do it, and it is that you do the one step, okay, that's done, then what's that next other little thing you can do? Okay, that's done, and then before you know it, it's like just like now you're up to 5, you're saying, "Oh, I've done this 4 times before, and now I'm at 5, and there might be a 6th in the offing," and you say, "Alright," and even though it's like kids, they're all different, but there's still, if I could do it this many times before, I can do it again, and I can do it well. Yes?
Yeah, and I think that's important, like, by doing things, you build your confidence, right? And
Mhm.
that's just, I think, the best way, and then you know that you're doing well and providing a service in the world or making an impact, and so you get out of your head, stop feeling less like an imposter because you can see the real impact in front of you. Um, Maybe that's the answer, I don't know.
Well, I can tell you this. Okay, Ms. CEO, nobody who's heard your story would believe that you are currently suffering from imposter syndrome. They are not convinced that it's ever going to hit you again, although we know it something happens and you go like, "Oh my god, I'm back here again. I feel like this again." Doesn't matter. You just get past that as you have, but you've clearly shown us all what it takes to rise above that feeling of, Do I deserve to be here?" So, I would say, why don't we just cue the glass and let's raise it to you, Amanda,
That's very
because you
sweet,
have
thank you.
officially been kicked off of the imposter roster.
I'll be back, don't worry. I'll be
And
back.
that is because you own the spotlight now, and I know we're going to see a whole lot more of you. So thank you so very much for taking time from your very, very busy schedule to join us and let us know, how'd you do all that?
Thank you so much. It was really a joy being on the podcast. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And to the rest of you, thank you for joining us. Thank you for taking your precious time and sitting in to listen to how are they all doing it? Because you're doing it too, but you're just doing it a little different. So thank you and have a great day. Bye-bye. That's a wrap on today's episode of the Imposter Roster. If something you heard today made you nod, laugh, or quietly think, "Ooh, that's me," share it with someone who needs it, because the more we talk about it, the less power it has. Follow or subscribe for free on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you're listening. And if you're feeling generous, leave a review. It genuinely helps more people find their way here. Until next time, here's to finding your way off the roster, one honest conversation at a time.